Time for another board game review, and this time we have the game Yokohama. This was sent to me by Tasty Minstrel Games and is designed by Hisashi Hayashi. Welcome to Yokohama. It is the beginning of the Meiji era. Once just a sleepy fishing village, the opening of foreign trade in Yokohama and the decline of Edo led Yokohama to become the premier hub of trade in all of Japan. During this period, firms were established in Yokohama to export Japanese products such as copper and raw silk to foreign countries. In addition, foreign technology and culture were incorporated into Japan, and modernization slowly swept over the streets of the city. Behind all of these incredible developments were the capable merchants of Yokohama. You are a merchant of Yokohama vying to gain fame through successful business ventures. There are a number of ways to gain fame, such as fulfilling orders with foreign powers, learning foreign technology, and developing the city by building shops and trading houses. In order to achieve these goals, you will roam the streets of Yokohama, gaining the benefits of the various areas of the city, and earn the favor of foreign agents. Will you become the most capable merchant of Yokohama? Let me show you how to play.
So here's a 2-player setup. You can do more than that, but we're just for simplicity, we're going to do 2 players. If there were more players, you'd have even more rows on top, a row of 5 and a row of 6. But these are all different sort of spaces in the city. As you can see, there are other spaces we're not using because we're playing with 2 players. Each player has a warehouse tile and also stuff in their hand. You get a little president. These are assistants. This is your score counter. Some resources, in this case, copper, tea, silk, and fish. And these little tiles are shops, and you get 2 of them in your hand. And if we look at the warehouse here, we've got 12 assistants in the warehouse, 6 shops, and 4 trading houses. You cannot play with these until you take them out of the warehouse. Each player starts with 4 yen, unless you're the first player, in which case you start with 3. All information in the game is public, like the number of resources you have, and the number of assistants and shops you have, except for order cards. At the beginning of the game, you will get 2 order cards. You pick one, and that's in your hand as a secret. What an order card is if you fulfill the objective here, in this case it'd be if you have 3 fish and 1 copper, you could fulfill this order and get the reward here. You may have a maximum of 3 order cards in hand at a time, and you may not discard them in order to make room for different ones. If you want to get rid of them, you have to fulfill them. There are also technology cards. These give you like little powers, like this one, Language School. When you fulfill an order, you get 1 yen for each one. There is no limit to how many of these you can have, but you may not have 2 with the same title. And whenever you get victory points, you move your score counter along this track here. So if you got, let's say, I don't know, 5 points, ta-da, move it onto the 5. The game progresses in rounds of turns clockwise from the starting player. You continue taking turns until the game ends, and there are special conditions for that. Once the game end condition is met, finish the current round and play 1 final full round. So, on your turn, you can do 3 phases in order. A, additional action phase, B, your main action phase, and C, additional action phase second half. There are certain actions you can take during the additional action phases at the beginning and end of your turn. But first, let's get into B, the main action phase. In your main action phase, there are 6 steps: placement, movement, area action, 5 power bonus, which is optional, construction, which is also optional, and recovery step. With the exceptions of the ones I mentioned, each step is mandatory. Placement step, you will place your assistants from your hand onto the area boards. You can either place 1 assistant into each of up to 3 different areas, so you could do, I don't know, employment agency, silk mill, and copper mine. Or you can put 2 assistants in a single area. I could put 2 of these little guys in, I don't know, the customs. All placements must follow these rules. They must come from your hand, not from your warehouse. Remember, you can never play from your warehouse unless you take them out of the warehouse and put them into your hand. Now, if an opposing president is in an area, if you want to place an assistant there, you must pay 1 yen for each assistant you place there. So if I wanted to put 2 on here, I'd have to pay the green player 2 yen. If you can't pay, you can't place. Now it's time for the movement step. So let's say I placed my cubes here, here, and I don't know, here. First, if you want, you can move your president and assistants to your hand. If there are anything you don't want on the board, you can take them and put them in your hand. Then, if your president is in your hand, you put them in an area. So let's say I'm gonna go, I don't know, to the bank. Now the president is in the bank. And then you move your president from one area to another. This option is the most common. Usually your president is on the board already, and usually you have cubes that you're not trying to remove unless you run out of assistance. You may move your president through any number of adjacent areas to a legal destination. A legal destination is an area that contains at least one of your assistant cubes and no opposing presidents. So I could move from the silk mill to customs, because both areas contain cubes. If you ever pass through an area where there's an opposing president, you have to pay that player 1 yen. If you can't pay, you can't move through. So if I wanted to do, let's say, this, for some reason, I would have to pay the green player 1 yen. You can also not return to your starting area. You can't do a little loopy-loop and just come back. You have to end in a different area. Then once you're in an area, you do the area action step. So let's say I ended up in the silk mill. Now you count up how much power you have. So your president is worth 1 power. Each assistant is worth 1 power. If you had shops, they'd be 1 power each. If you had a trading house, that'd be 1 power. And a station is 1 power. So with this, I only have 2 power. So I would do the 2 action. I would get 1 silk. If I had 2 cubes in a shop, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4 power. So I would get 3 silk. If any opponent has a trading house in that area, they would get 1 yen from the bank when you do your action there. You do not receive money from your trading house on your own turn. Now, if you manage to have 5 power, let's say I had 3 cubes on here, then I could do the 5 power action if I wanted to. If you're the first player to do a 5 power action, you get a little prize. This is, ta-da, 2 more silk. You're just rolling in silk. Once you take that, once you resolve this, you take it, and now it's yours. All the areas have different 5 power bonuses. Now, if you do a 4 or 5 power action in an area, if you want, you can build a shop or a trading house. So, if I did a 4 action, let's say, I could put a shop in one of these spaces. Whatever space I put it on, I get a reward. So if I put it on here, I would get 2 copper. If I put it on here, I would get 1 victory point. I'll get 1 victory point. That shop stays there forever. So if I ever go back onto the silk mill, this will always give me 1 power. Same thing with the trading house. Trading houses are a little rarer because you only have 4 of them and they're kind of expensive to get. But if you put that on here, but let's say green wasn't on here, if you can put that on here and get 9 victory points. Only 1 player can build a trading house on each area, so it's kind of a special space. But you also only have 4 of them possible in the whole game, so you have to decide which one is the best spot for you. Now, after your main action phase, you must take all assistants from this area out and return them to your hand. So now you know how the main action phase works. Let's go back to the additional action phases I was talking about. At the beginning and end of your turn, basically before and after your main action phase, you can do optional actions. You can use a foreign agent, that's once per turn. You can fulfill an achievement or fulfill an order. When using a foreign agent, which I'll explain how to get these, turn it face down to show it's been used, and then you can pick any area containing at least 1 of your assistants and not your president. And you can do the action depending on how much power is on there. So let's say after this silk mill action, I was like, I'm going to use my foreign agent. I use it. I'll do the copper mine. The copper mine, I've got 3 cubes on there, so I get 1 copper. It's basically a free action on a space that you didn't land on. And even if you pick an area with an opposing president, you don't have to pay them money for this. Another additional action is fulfilling an achievement. At the beginning of the game, there are 3 achievements, as you can see here. The first player to fulfill each achievement scores the larger victory point value on the left. So this one is 7T. If you get 7T and you can fulfill that achievement, ta-da, you get 8 victory points. Whoever does it after gets 6 victory points. This one is whoever gets 10 yen first. Ta-da, fulfill an achievement. There are 3 achievements each game. They are randomly chosen from the deck, so you never know which achievements you're going to get. And finally, you can fulfill an order. So in this case, if I had 3 fish, 1 tea, and 2 silk, I could discard them from my hand and get 9 victory points and 1 yen. Now on the order cards and the technology cards, there are symbols for different countries. In this case, it's America. Whenever you obtain a matching pair of them, that's when you get a foreign agent of that country. So if I got 2 American flag cards, then I get the American flag foreign agent, which I can use on a later turn if I want for an extra action. Now, there are a couple different situations where the game can end. If any player has built all 4 of their trading houses, if they've built all 8 of their shops, if you try to fill the orders on the port management board and you don't have any more cards, if 5 or more assistants, depending on how many players you play with, are on the church management board, which I'll explain in a second, or if 5 or more assistants are placed on the customs management board, If any of those conditions are met, you have to finish the round and play one final full round. And that's when the game is done. So let's talk about the church. If you look at this card, you can see that you can get faith for doing your power actions. You can do up to 5. And then actually, you can donate materials or yen, either 2 yen for 1 faith or 1 material for 1 faith, and boost the faith you earn for that action. So let's say I did a 5 power action and I donated 3 materials. That would be 8 faith. Once you do that, you place one of your assistants onto the church management board. In this case, it'd be the 8 faith space. So I would put it on here. I would get 2 assistants and 7 victory points. And now this assistant can no longer be used. It is stuck on the church management board. At the end of the game, whoever has the most assistants on this board gets 6 points, and the second most gets 3 points. Customs is also very similar. If you throw away imports that you get, you can go on to the customs management board. You put a cube on how many imports you got rid of, and you get the subsequent reward. And then at the end of the game, whoever has the most assistants on there gets 8 points, and the second most gets 4 points. There's also a technology bonus. In the laboratory, you can actually do actions to get technology. Depending on how much power you give, and for this you can actually contribute yen or imports to get more technology, you will get a card. So if I had 4 technology, I can pick one of these cards that's equal to 4. In this case, this would be 3 plus 1, 4. So I could do university. Once per turn, you may gain a worker from your warehouse by paying 1 yen. I could do the stagecoach. Movement step. You may move your president over areas occupied by other president markers without paying. At the end of the game, whoever has the most total industry value of their technology cards gets 10 bonus points, and the second most gets 5 bonus points. And finally, there's the country bonus. At the end of the game, you see how many different countries you have, and then you score according to this. For each 5 different icons, it's 12 points. 4 different icons, it's 8. So you categorize them into groups of different icons, and then you score points based on that. This set would be 12 points, this set would be 4 points, and this would actually be 0 points on its own. Otherwise, you also get 1 point for each import, 1 point for each 2 yen, 1 point for each 3 trade goods, and 1 point for unused foreign agents. And then, at the end of the game, after calculating all the victory points, whoever has the most points is the winner. And to go over some of the areas I didn't talk about, in the employment agency, this is actually how you get more assistants, shops, and trading houses. If you do a 4 power action, you can get 3 different items. So looking at the board, the assistants are free, the shops are 2 yen each, and the trading houses are progressively more expensive depending on how many you've bought. So if I did a power action of 4, I could get 3. I could get, let's say, I don't know, 2 assistants, 1 shop, or 1 assistant, 1 shop, 1 trading house if I have enough yen. The bank simply lets you get yen for depending on your power action. The port lets you get orders, low, medium, and high orders, and that's how you pick up these new order cards. And the rest are basically like, oh, this is silk, this is copper, and so on. And that's how you play.
So here's an example of a game with so much to do and so many components, but just elegant design and simple, straightforward gameplay. Has a very nice, pleasing, clean aesthetic. The map is sprawling with lots of variety and replayability because you never know how it's going to be ordered in that game. And here's an example of a game that uses symbols, but in the right way, the perfect way. Like, the symbols are easy to understand. The stars are victory points, but then it uses text on the cards so that you don't have to wrangle with too many symbols. The symbols that they use are obvious, they make sense, they're used on the boards so you know what they mean. Or they're related to specific items. And whatever they can't convey with simple symbols, they put text on. Thank you so much. No more just ruffling through the rule book trying to figure out what some damn card means. Like, it makes sense. There is no wasted time. Placing cubes to move is really interesting. It adds a lot of strategy to kind of where you place your cubes, where you want to focus on. It's definitely a game of efficiency. It's very fun planning your actions so that you can get the right number of materials you need for your achievements or your orders. You can also block your opponents by putting your presidents there, and also building investment for power on certain spaces. Like, oh, I'm gonna put some cubes here because I'm gonna come back here and get a big old 5 action here. There's a lot to think about, but it's simple. And I really like there's not one way to win. There are so many ways you can strategize. whether you focus on the achievements or whether you decide you're going to do a lot of technology or whether you're going to be the order guy. You know, there's so many ways. There's no wrong way to win. When we played, the three of us focused on very different things. And it was a very close game. I wish more games with this many components had this clean of design. To be fair, like, I will admit, when we opened the box and saw just how much setup there was, because you got to put all the boards, you got to put all the little things on the boards, and there's like 5 different decks of cards, we were like, is this going to be a drag? But no. Once you know how to play, super easy to play. Put the cubes on, move around, hey, how much power? Action, done. I love it. Clean design. I really like this game a lot.